GitLab. Hello and welcome everybody to the Secure Frontend chapter. It is the 29th of June. I will now verbalize one point which was actually added to the agenda 2 weeks ago, but the attendance count was only 1. And I think it's a very good point, so we should speak about this. Alexander put it on there and he's asking, how do single front-end engineering groups verify your changes? On container security, I'm the sole front-end engineer like many of the analyzer groups, and that means I often verify my own work. Usually I'm fine with this, but for large projects or releases, I get uneasy that I might have missed something as everyone makes mistakes. This point or question resonated with me a lot. I think it's excellent. I currently verify myself or the changes I work on myself as well. I don't think that's ideal. Whenever I can, I try to pull in a knowledgeable reviewer, but by that I mean an individual who might review more than one of the MR of the related epic. This allows them to have more background knowledge and become an expert on this slowly. But at the moment, those are rather loose connections. So I wonder if we should if it would be a good idea if we would find an official concept to this within the chapter, something like a feature buddy, if that would make any sense. So that would be somebody who's aware of it and can help verify and test. And actually something that crossed my mind just recently is we might be running into similar issues when it comes to refinement. They are maybe not as crucial as verifying feature changes, but I think it could be kind of hard to refine a whole backlog on your own as well.
Sure. So my response to this is that if we take what the secure analyzer group used to be, right? The only difference now is that our engineering managers are different, because when you think about it, even though Neil was our engineering manager, we still had multiple product managers, different UX designers from different groups. And then, you know, there's more likelihood that a developer can be kind of bounced around to each group. Now we're kind of more funneled in and we have this wall, but that wall only, I think only exists in as far as engineering management goes. That doesn't mean that the front-end developers can't cross-collaborate. Hence why we have this front-end chapter. So my recommendation is we shouldn't change what we were doing before, which is when we did reviews, you know, so when we kind of split groups, I was still able to assign you license compliance, right? Because you were already familiar with it. And I had that luxury because in the past, you know, we all kind of touched and worked on different areas. My recommendation, so what has changed is that the areas that we work on have been more siloed. The reviews shouldn't. So maybe I should add on to the recent merge request to update the front-end chapter groups, but maybe we should add a section on encouraging for the solo groups where there's only one front-end developer, encouraging people to just kind of randomly assign reviews to people within the secure stage as opposed to outside of secure. We can't expect someone outside of secure to be very ultra knowledgeable about that one subgroup within secure, but at least we might have better luck if we get in the habit of assigning reviews to other front-end developers within secure, especially for the team members that are on solo teams. I've done that many, many times with, again, license compliance, assigning it to you when it came to the MR widget. Also, you or Phil being like the staff level front-end engineer working on the widget extensions. So yeah, so I would recommend that. Maybe we kind of formalize that we encourage developers to assign to within secure stage as opposed to outside. I think that's maybe like the first step, and we give that a try. I don't know if we should add to the docs until we kind of experiment with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with this, and I'm with you on that. We should keep this within our group. Like secure engineers will know secure products better. Only question I'm asking myself: how could a first iteration on this look? Would it rather be, hey, everybody just lose fear actually asking in the secure front-end chapter channel for somebody to jump in and verify and help you out? Would that be a valid first step, or do we need to
Yeah,
push it further?
I think that's a very good point. I think step one would be when you have a review or you have a review that you're concerned about, because it's, one that, well, step one, identifying one that is high risk. And I think that Alexander pointed that out, that it's like, I know for a fact that I'm a little nervous about this one. That's the perfect one to ask in the secure front-end channel. Some people are much more proactive in that channel, and I feel like, it's someone out of what, there's like 5 or 6 of us would like just jump into review. And the other alternative is, if it is a complex feature, then offer, a sync session to do a paired code review or a walkthrough, or pre-record a video where from start to finish is setting it up. I think that's how you educate other team members and how the feature works, because that has been the biggest barrier for me to run verification steps on a larger MR. Is I don't even know. It's like, step one, go to a project with XYZ. I'm like, I don't have that, and I don't know how to set that up, or like,
Oh, it will take me ages. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we formalize that? So
there.
I think that's, yeah, I think for those higher risk ones, having a second set of eyes helps. But we also want to avoid, and this is more of a long-term problem, tunnel vision. Like, I don't want, for example, I've relied heavily on you to do a lot of my license compliance reviews, but then it's just, we sort of fixed the problem because at least I have another set of eyes, but it's only one set of eyes. So then you now become the other license compliance guy, as opposed to like, the whole team is familiar. And I think we should encourage other reviewers in secure stage, just for the simple matter that we do have one thing in common across the secure group, is that like we kind of work a lot, well, not for every feature, but like vulnerabilities are like at the core of everything, right? License compliance, a little different. You don't create vulnerabilities, but
it's close.
Yeah. So these first steps, I think maybe we should, let me see. I'm reluctant to commit it directly to the or put an MR up in the docs, because I feel like we still need to kind of flush out an experiment. What about at the top of the agenda? Because I feel like we discussed it, but then it'll get lost unless someone is constantly like friendly reminder.
I love that. Like basically an agenda item as or an agenda template that we have for a lot of meetings. Basically like things to verify or things to jump on in or something.
Oh yeah, like we could add it to the template. Let's see. Like that's a networking group.
Awesome. The front-end chapter, yeah. Quick question just crossing my mind. So agenda template sounds great. Should we add something to the docs as well, or is it one or the other?
I think so. I propose this whenever we're experimenting with a new idea, it's quicker to iterate. We're doing 1 or 2 weeks kind of within the agenda template. And then if that process seems well, then we could commit it as a docs update to,
Gotcha.
because I feel like we kind of need to, we're still experimenting, figuring things out. And if we commit doc changes too early, and then it's kind of like not the rule of the land, but it's just too formal. And what if we want to change it? I don't know, because I think it's just easier to kind of iterate on, because otherwise if we make tweaks and adjustments, we'll have to put an MR every time to update the docs. And that is for that reason is why it took a while to get those, like a couple of, like 2 paragraphs of changes that I put up recently, because we kind of had to flush that out.
Gotcha. Yeah, happily volunteering to come up with such a template. If I don't want to steal it from you.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think since Alexander brought that up, either of us, you or I mean, I guess I could, if you want, I could sync up with them and let them know what we talked about, some ideas, because
yeah,
he brought it up, but then I don't know if he's gonna, maybe he may read it, but it may lack the context unless he watches the videos.
Yeah, I'll post the video in the Slack channel and just ping him, tell him that we spoke about it.
Okay, cool. I think, okay, so that was last week. Is it okay to move on to
this? Yeah, please.
We're almost at time here. So real quick, it's just more of like a FYI, but let me share regardless. I think you probably saw this MMARC is waiting on to be merged, but it's got all the approvals, very simple. It's just 2 parts, how to contribute to the agenda, because one of the challenges is getting discussion topics. So just kind of having like a quick list of areas of the code base that may kind of impact all the other groups within Secure. So if you're working at MR widgets, security configuration page, any of the tabs in a single pipeline view, shared survey banner, security badges, project selector dropdowns, I think we have a number of versions that we use. Some of them might be Secure specific, some of them might be in the general code base overall, but that had been called out. We'll follow up, I think, to identify where in the code base, because we do want to link to areas in the code base or locked to particularly tagged release, because that will quickly become out of date. And the steps for bringing up issues. So basically, if you're working on anything, whether it's an issue or an MR that falls under this category, or then you could ping the front-end chapter group. Here's the alias, and this is the GitLab alias, and within GitLab, and then you could bring it up to discuss in the weekly agenda, and that is the first one, and that will merge soon. And then building on that, one of the components identified were pipeline tabs, and here is a perfect example of something to bring up. So we were doing this pipeline tab migration. So my understanding is that the prior version was a bunch of Rails, HAML, server-side rendered templates that kind of set up the tabs. And then in each tab, now we would bootstrap that empty tab from the Rails server view with a view app. So there were like 4 or 5 independent view apps. For maintainability and being able to share, I guess, or have access to the same data, I guess, via Vuex store, and also for, I guess, just simplify maintaining it, to kind of consolidate that into one view app, and also to allow us to use pajamas compliant components in that single view app. So there are two parts to this. Part one was migrating the existing store for those individual Vue apps into a Vuex module, because that is the first step to unifying these independent apps, is to kind of namespace each Vue app into its own Vuex module. And then part two was, now that we have this Vuex module kind of pattern, is to then migrate the front-end components for that particular tab. Let's say in the case of license compliance, to move that into the Vue app tab. Because I think that it's a feature flagged out. So the feature flag off, it'll show the legacy kind of tab page, or the feature flag on, it'll show the bootstrapped single Vue app with the tabs. And then this work is to then migrate the existing Vue app components into the parent Vue app. So those are the two parts. This plan and strategy is kind of based off of a template off the original issue that I believe one of the developers, who's I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Frederick. I'll just say, I don't know if you know how to pronounce it correctly, but he, I guess, kind of put that together, this plan based off his initial analysis, and that's what I'm kind of going off of. But assuming it all goes to plan, it should be simple, but from experience, it doesn't always go to plan. So I'm sure I'll run into some weird edge cases that may not be completely captured in that high level strategy. So question for the front end chapter. Have you migrated any, or do you, I think I saw you had an issue this milestone to migrate, like the here.
Yeah, there was one, it's hopefully linked in there. Paul assigned me to it. I can code policy. Yep. I haven't fully, yep, there we are.
Yeah. And I didn't have a wait for it until yesterday either. I put a 3 best case scenario, but that was like, I mean, this is really high, like ballpark estimate based off the plan here. But with refactoring the unit tests and manually testing and everything in unknowns, realistically, I feel like it may, if it doesn't go to plan, might range in the 5 territory. So I put a 3, but with the understanding that I may have to create up a follow-up issue and break this up into pieces. I just don't have that visibility down the hall, like, you know, again, going off of this plan, which kind of seems pretty detailed for a high level plan, because this is not specific to this particular tab, it's specific to the architectural strategy for the migration, if that makes sense. So it's so that is it. Yeah, and I'm hoping that with that MR that landed for the docs update, we'll be able to kind of encourage people to contribute here, and that might help increase attendance.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. Well, I guess we're 5 minutes over time, but it was great as always speaking.
Absolutely. So enjoy the rest of the day, and looking forward to speak to you next time. See you then.